Okay,
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Ayyan Atif. I'm a level 1 student at Rehan School Islamabad Campus. So today I have the pleasure of speaking with Mike Armstrong, an entrepreneur, marketing and consultant, and someone whose mission is to support as many entrepreneurs and people around the world as possible while enjoying life. So Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to have you here. Here, let's get started. So.
oh, great to be.
Okay. So my first question to you is, sir, can you introduce yourself to my audience?
So my name's Mike Armstrong. As you said, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 11. I've been involved in sales and marketing since the age of 15, although I was selling when I was 11. So really, all my life, all my sort of later childhood, my teen life, and all my adult life, I've done quite a lot of different entrepreneurial ventures, as well as trodden the corporate path. Um, when I was young, I wanted to be a managing director of either a big company or my own company. And I managed to work my way up into an organization where I was one under the managing director and I was up for the job. So I've been right the way up through a career in the corporate world, in corporate key account sales and sales management, sales directorship. And then I started my own sales and marketing consultancy and digital marketing agency. And I've been working with all sorts of entrepreneurs, mostly in the B2B sector, but some in the B2C sector, which is where I started out. And I've been helping those businesses to grow and teaching entrepreneurs new digital marketing and SEO and, content marketing tips and video marketing tips and that sort of thing. And I'm on a mission to become a global speaker, um, and I want to educate as many entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, old entrepreneurs, anyone with the skills that I've learned over a lifetime in sales and marketing and business growth. I like to try and share that information with others so that they can benefit from my knowledge and experience.
Okay, that's nice. So your mission says supporting as many entrepreneurs and people on the planet as I can wish enjoy life. So what inspired you to adopt these missions?
Um, I think, like most people in life, I've had ups and downs, like most people. Um, Life hasn't always been easy. I've always managed people in jobs and in my career, and I've always worked and collaborated with other people when I've been self-employed. And I like helping people, and it makes me feel good, I suppose, and it makes me feel like I'm making a difference or having a sense of accomplishment. So my mission to become a global speaker is because if I get on bigger and bigger platforms, I can help more and more people. And I just think if you're capable of doing something, you should. And I know I'm capable of helping lots of people because I've learned a lot of stuff along the way, and I'm happy to share it. And some people like to hold on to their knowledge and their experience because they're worried about competition or other people taking their knowledge and doing better with it than them. But I'm not worried about those things. I actually, would enjoy lots of young entrepreneurs learning from me and going off to get to even higher levels than I've got to in life. So I don't mind sharing. I like giving back. I like helping people. And so if you can do something, I think you should do it. If you want to do something and you're able to do it, you should do it. And that's why I'm trying to help as many people as I can because I think I can, and I want to, and I think it'd be a good, impactful life rather than just insignificant, meaningless existence, like a lot of people tend to have in life. They tend to get into a job, into the rat race, do the same thing over and over again for 20, 30, 40 years, and then they retire, spend a bit of time on the golf course and die. And that's not really that fulfilling a life. So I'd rather something a bit more impactful than that.
Okay, that's nice. So looking back at your entrepreneurial journey, so what has been the biggest challenge you faced and how did you overcome it?
Well, I think in entrepreneur, you always face different challenges. Part of being an entrepreneur, part of even being a person, is that life gives you sort of curveballs. You have ups and you have downs, etc. So, I wouldn't necessarily point to one specific challenge that was a hard entrepreneurial challenge. my biggest life challenge was getting divorced, probably, and having to start and build from scratch at a 35 year old situation where at 35 I probably had less money than when I was like 18 because I went through a divorce and I lost a lot of money and went through the global credit crunch and had some financial situations going on and I had to rebuild my life again. So that was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do. And that was about, refinding my spark, my momentum, my motivation, because I lost it for a while. And that was probably my biggest challenge. And I suppose that's an entrepreneurial challenge too, because I've lost my drive, I lost my spark. But it's a life challenge. But, in entrepreneurship, just getting going in business is one of the hardest things, building traction, building momentum, because you're starting from a point of zero and you've got to do a lot of things. So, often the first year or first couple of years in business can be really hard because you haven't got momentum. You've got to build a brand. You've got to build all your sales and marketing collateral, your websites, your social media. You've got to do all of that. The first few customers, the first few followers, they're the hardest. They're the ones, because you haven't got nothing behind you. You've got no momentum. You've got nothing. So you've got to, if you've got any money, you've got to invest it wisely. If you've got no money but time, you've got to spend that wisely. You've got to make the right decisions, do the right actions, get the customers, build the following, do whatever you need to do. And over time, that will become easier because you've got traction, you've got momentum, you've got case studies and testimonials and different collateral that you have as you're building that you don't have at the beginning. So, you've got to sort of like just offer great value or, something unique or something different at the start because you've got nothing to lean back on to show or in case studies, testimonials to be able to show what you can do. But once you've got all of that, then if you leverage that right and you use it right in your marketing and in your sales pitches, etc., you can get more business from the fact that you've already, solved a problem for someone else or provided, a good service or a solution to someone else, then other people will trust that, and you'll build from there. So getting going is always the hardest, especially if you're in a new sector and you don't really know much about it. Because something I like to say in life is you don't know what you don't know. Nobody knows what they don't know. They just know what they do know. And actually, the more you start learning in life, the more you understand how little you do know, because there's a lot of information out there about all sorts of things. And when you're new in business, you've got to sort of try and learn as much as you can about the things you don't know so that you can add them to your strategy, to your planning, to your actions, to your activities, because they're things you didn't even know about, but now they're things that are important and integral to growing your business. So you have to learn quickly. You have to adapt and evolve and change and move with the times and latest technologies or latest marketing techniques or sales techniques and all that sort of thing. And so, the best thing you can do as a youngster is to learn as much as you can about the world, about business, about sales, about marketing, about leadership, about personal development, about all these things you don't know about. And eventually you'll get to a stage where you do know about them. And if you want to become an expert at something, you need to learn and research that industry and that sector and know as much as you can about that. And once you get to that stage and you added experience and case studies and testimonials and real life examples to what you do as well, then you're going to build up some real value because you're an expert. You know everything about what you need to know about. But when you're starting off, you don't know what you don't know. So it's hard. So that's why it's good to find a mentor. It's good to research. It's good to look at other people who've been there, done it, got the T-shirt. How have they built it, their businesses up? How have they got successful in that sector, in that area? What are the blueprints to success? How can I look at what they've done and replicate it? Yeah, these are all the things I think you need to do when you're young and when you're inexperienced. And over time, if you create massive action and do lots of activity and constantly analyze what you're doing, do more of the stuff that works and less of the stuff that don't, you can really hone in on a system, a process, a setup, people. You can hone in on a system and a structure and a team that can help you continue to grow, grow, grow. And if you're always willing to grow through a growth mindset and you're always willing to change, adapt, and move with the times and the latest industry sectors and all the rest of that, then you'll continue to build momentum and to grow through all the different layers that life and business growth challenges you at. But if you're not willing to change, adapt, and grow and learn at some point you're going to hit a ceiling. You're going to do something that works for a while and then hit a ceiling, not be able to get around it or get past it because you're not willing to learn or adapt or speak to new people or find ways around it. So you have to constantly be willing to change, adapt, and grow. And that's how you can sort of build a business in any area, really.
Okay, that's nice. So if someone is starting a business with a very limited budget, what would be your first three pieces of advice?
I think if you've got a limited budget, there's a couple of things you can do. One, you can partner up with somebody who's got a budget already, and that can elevate your business straight away because you can provide the time, resource, and expertise, and they can provide the money, and you can build that way. Um, Another way is you can find the core best thing that you do and start selling it rapidly, or even ahead of if you're producing a product or a service or something, you start selling it before you even got it or before it's available. So you can take pre-sales and pre-orders and that sort of thing, and then you can get cash flow in, and then that can help you invest in some of the things you need to invest in, which means you can go on then and grow the business. Or the other thing is you can bootstrap, your business. You can sort of like put time in, put effort in, build connections, build community, build following on social media. You can put the time in investing into your target audience, into your potential customers, etc. You can put a lot of time in, and then over time, you can start to monetize that time by introducing products and services to the audience that you're building up. You can build an audience up by giving value, giving knowledge, giving expertise, giving information, build that audience up. And then once you've got, like, if, for example, you wanted to create a product or create a service and you needed money to do that, once you've built up a good enough audience, you can take pre-sales or pre-orders, get that cash flow in, use that cash flow then to invest in the product, the service, or the solution or whatever, and then you can take that to market or deliver, the products and services to the pre-order customers. There's lots of ways you can get going if you haven't got money. Most people use the excuse, "Well, I haven't got no money, so I can't do it," and then that's it. They just say, "I can't do it because I haven't got the money." When if you're creative, which you need to be as an entrepreneur, and if you're a problem solver, which you need to be as an entrepreneur, and if you're willing to roll up your sleeves and work hard, which you need to be as an entrepreneur, you can find your way around all the problems of not having money. Yeah, and if you speak to people and communicate with people and network with people and connect with people and collaborate with people and partner with people, or you lead source for people, or you create, services for people who are looking to do similar things to you, sometimes you can get funding or you can get grants. So there's all sorts of ways of funding things. You can get investment. You can, look for, a mentor and an investor, like an angel or something like that. There's a lot of ways of doing it. If you're determined enough and you're creative enough and you're hardworking enough and willing to speak to people and connect with the right people, etc., you can find your way around most problems.
Okay. So my next question to you is how important is personal branding in today's competitive business environment?
Yeah, well, I think this day and age, personal branding, authentic personal branding, and mission, vision, and value branding is very important because today's consumers and customers are much more savvy. They're much more interested in understanding who they're working with, who they're buying from, what's the business all about, that sort of thing. So if you can portray all of that in your personal brand, um, then you can build whatever businesses you want on the back of that personal brand because business is about trust. It's about being known, being liked, and being trusted. And if you share with people, what it is that's driving you as a person, what it is that's unique about you, what sort of cause or mission you're on. If people like that and it's a good cause, it's a good mission, and they like you and your values and whatever, they'll get behind it, they'll support it, they'll get involved. But if you don't build a personal brand and you just build a company and people don't know what it's all about, what it stands for, it's harder in today's marketplace to build a business like that. You need to be offering value to people in order to get business in the first place, and people got to understand what that value is and what difference they're making and what the legacy of the business is and that sort of thing. I think it's getting more and more important in the age of technology and AI and that sort of thing, where people can find so much information about you and what you're doing, a touch of a button. It's important to make sure that you have a clear identity and a clear mission and a clear vision, and are able to portray that in your personal branding and all of your content.
Okay. So, sir, my next question to you is, what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur who sometimes lose confidence after facing rejection?
Well, I would say, when you're young, especially, you'll probably take more rejection than when you're older, because, people don't necessarily believe that you have any knowledge or expertise or anything that you can offer them, because often they're older and more experienced, etc. So when you're younger, you have the challenges of, people being able to trust you. And I told you, business is all about know, like, and trust. So when you're young, you have to be able to impress them enough to be able to build that confidence, so that they can trust you to do what you want to do for them. So you need to be able to, talk the talk, walk the walk. You need to be able to, you need to know what you're talking about. You need to research your subject matter. I've done business recently with somebody who was 23. She looked about 19. But when I spoke to her, I knew she knew her subject. Everything I asked her, she knew her subject 100%, because she'd been working with her father, I think, since she was 13 or 14 or something. So, although she was 23 and looked like 19, and I might have just gone, if I was not the person I am, I could have just gone, oh, she won't know nothing about nothing. I don't want to deal with her. But I give everyone a chance. I ask them the questions. I speak with them. And if they come up with the right answers and they know their stuff, then they're going to build that trust, um, which they wouldn't if they didn't know the right answers, and they didn't know their area of expertise or whatever. So, you have to just keep building your knowledge, becoming an expert. She had lots of case studies and examples because of real life scenarios that she's been involved in, and you need to build those up yourself as well. So if you can't win any business in the early days because you haven't got no customers or no case studies or no testimonials, my suggestion is to volunteer for people, build up those case studies, build up those testimonials. If you can't charge for what you do it for free for a while, you know, because then you'll build up those case studies, those real life examples of how you've made a difference, the problems you solved, the solutions you gave. You'll have those stories to tell, which then makes it much easier to sell to other people. And they can trust you then because of the real life experiences you've already given. So, that's so to start with, sometimes you just got to do real good value deals, or real, or volunteer, or just get some work experience, or just get some experience to build that trust in you up, so that you can then go on and monetize that. But regarding rejection, life isn't a series of yeses. You're gonna get told no sometimes, and you've got to be able to learn how to handle that. So it's a mental thing. You've got to build up resilience, and realize that not everybody wants what you want. Not everyone wants what you have to offer. So, uh, rejection is not rejection. It's just part of the process. Yeah. If, for example, you do something for a long enough period of time, you'll work out what the KPIs are. So, like, it might mean that, depending on what you're selling and who you're selling it to, it might mean you might need to get 20 no's before you get a yeah. You might need to get 100 no's before you get a yeah. You might need to get 200 no's before you get a yeah. You won't know what that KPIs are at the beginning, but over time you'll work out what the average is. So the no's are just part of the process to get to the yes. So you have to go through the no's, you have to go through the rejection to get the acceptance and to get the yes. And if you understand it's just a process and it's not actual rejection, it's just some people don't need what you got to offer. Some people don't value it. So what? It's a process at the end of the day. If you had a product or a service that was suitable to every single person and they all just said yes, you'd be a multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire. But the realities are there's not many products or services that are suitable and are needed by everyone. So it's just a natural logistical reality that some people are going to say no. So if you just
Yes.
accept it and move on, then what's the problem? Just a numbers game at the end of the day. Once you realize how many no's you need to get in order to get a yes, then getting a no is good, because it's moving you along your scale. So if you know you need 20 no's to get a yes, then you're happy to get no number 19.
Mm.
It's moving you closer to the yes. So then
Yes,
it's positive then. So you turn a negative into a positive. And that's much more easier to deal with psychologically. If your negatives become positives, then you don't have no negatives. So you've got nothing to take you down. So you can just keep going forward.
yes. Okay, so my next question to you is if you could change one thing about today's world, so what would it be and why?
Well, as you guys in Rehan School are learning all about AI, but also the foundations around digital and digital life and digital marketing and podcasting, communication, networking, all the sort of stuff around AI, there are still older entrepreneurs and there are still young entrepreneurs and middle-aged entrepreneurs who don't really immerse themselves in that world. But something I'd like to say is that if you're not immersing yourself in the digital world and the AI world and implementing these things in your business and in your life and in your strategies, you're going to be falling behind the curve. People who didn't embrace the internet and technology and social media marketing and all of that in like the 90s and the noughties and whatever, some of those companies went bust. Some of them, fell way behind the curve of the other businesses. Most of the businesses in most sectors, the successful businesses and the technology driven businesses are the middlemen between the customers and the suppliers. So they don't actually even have a product or a service. They just provide the platform, like a Just Eat or an Uber or whatever. They provide a platform to connect the supplier with the customer. And so most of the big companies in the last 20, 25 years are tech companies, yeah, solving business problems and matching people together. And in the next 25 years, it'll be AI companies who have solved similar problems and find a way of putting customers with suppliers. Because, that's ultimately what business is selling products and services to people. And so all of the web-based platforms, if they don't adapt to AI, they'll all be overtaken by the AI platforms. Whatever shape and look and feel those AI platforms have, and those AI businesses have, it's going to basically the whole world and the whole way of doing business is going to change. And if you're not adapting and learning and trying to keep up with the pace, which is hard because it's ever moving and it's fast and it's changing here, there, and everywhere. But if you're not at least learning and trying to keep up with the pace and trying to adapt and trying to work out how I can add some USPs and some efficiencies and cost savings, utilizing digital and AI and whatever comes next, you're going to fall behind the curve and you ain't going to be one of the successful stories from that era. So now we're at the beginning of a 25-year AI boom time where all the businesses who are using AI and other digital marketing and online, sales and marketing techniques, all those companies are going to take a big chunk of the marketplace that is the AI world, which will exist in 25 years' time. They'll all have a big stakeholder piece of it. But the companies who didn't get involved and didn't want to learn and didn't want to develop and grow and adapt, they'll have a very small or nothing piece of that new world. So, now's the time to learn, develop, grow, evolve, and take a piece of that new world before it gets taken up by someone else.
Okay, so if you had one message, my last question, if you had one message that every person on earth could hear, so what would it be?
So I'll leave with two of my life principles, really. One of them is to work hard and play hard. Because a lot of entrepreneurs just work hard and they have miserable lives, miserable existence, bad family lives, and they don't enjoy life. What's the point? What's the point of like making a lot of money, but being miserable and having an unhappy existence? So work hard and play hard. Find a balance. Find a balance that works for you. Everyone's balance is different, so don't listen to other people when they say this is how it should work, or this is the structure, or this is the balance. Find out what works for you. Make sure you've got plenty of work hard, play hard in what you do, and enjoy your life. Because what's the point otherwise? And then the other principle I would say is live a life with no regrets. Don't get to your deathbed thinking, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, I wish I tried this, I wish I developed, I wish I grew, I wish I had a better mindset. Don't get to that stage. Do it. Do all of the things you want to do. You only got one life. Live it as best you can. do everything you can, and make sure you live a life of impact, of fulfillment, and of no regrets.
Okay, that's nice conversation with you, sir. So thank you so much for sharing your valuable experience and practical advice and inspiring journey with us today.
Thank you
So
for
okay,
thanks for up the good work. And if you want to share this post to me on any any platforms you share it to, I'll
yes, yes.
reshare it
Sir,
and help you.
I
Okay,
also share your WhatsApp and I also share Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
okay,
Okay,
brilliant.
okay,
Anything you want to add in there of ways people can connect with you, add into those posts as well. Because then when I reshare it, it'll go to my audiences, and so different people can link into your podcast or link in with you if they want to be a guest on your podcast or listen to it, that sort of thing. Okay,
okay,
have
okay,
a
sir.
good day.
Okay, so viewers, this was our today interview. I hope you like it. See you another interview, another session. Till then, Allah Hafiz.